When I first got diagnosed with UC, the physician came to me and said, "I need your husband here to tell you what's going on." So immediately I thought that I, was going to be the C word. I didn't know it was going to be colitis, but they told me that there was no cure, no cause, and that I had a very severe form of it. And the way I was told scared me to death. Hello, I'm Andrea Wilimowski. I live in Grosse Pointe Woods, Michigan, and I was diagnosed with UC in May of 2016. When I was diagnosed with UC and pancreatitis, or IBD in general, I actually had never heard of it before. My husband and I went out to dinner one night, and I had fish. And when I came home, I got really sick at about 2 o'clock in the morning. So I called a doctor friend of mine, and he said that I should go to the emergency room because I was likely dehydrated. And 7 days later, I was out of the hospital and had been diagnosed with UC pancreatitis for the very first time. Because my UC was so severe, they had to go on a very, very stringent regimen for my treatment. And I started having joint problems and issues. My colitis was getting better, and of course I was on all of the steroids and all of the things that go along with this. But about the 8-month mark in, I really couldn't even get out of bed. My doctor that they had given me said it was normal to have joint problems, but I couldn't walk. So that is when my life changed, and I decided to get a second opinion. So I looked up the best physician that I could find at that hospital, and immediately upon meeting this doctor, he knew that I had formed antibodies to the biologic that I was on, and he took me off of it immediately. He said that I would be a really good contender for a clinical trial that they had coming up. No one to this point had even mentioned to me a clinical trial of any kind. They told me I was on my last chance drug because it was the most robust thing that they had that could, work on my condition. And that day we made a decision between my husband and I to meet with the clinical trial coordinator for that specific trial. I was given the opportunity to go on an open label trial, which meant I knew what the drug was that they were giving me, and I knew the milligrams and the amount, the dosage, the frequency, and everything. And as soon as I started that regimen with the actual drug, I started getting better. And then I felt like I was in complete remission. First time in over a year since having that disease that I felt like I was in remission. And it was so easy for me. I took a pill, I saw them less. We did video visits, or actually more phone call visits, and I did routinely have blood tests. I was able to, at my doctor's orders, go ahead and go on the new drug. I'm still on it today, and it's still been a lifesaver for me. The one thing that I really have a problem with the most is when people go, "I'm on my last chance drug," and I'll say, "Have you considered a clinical trial?" And most of them say, "I didn't know that there was one." When I received a diagnosis of colitis, I thought it was a death sentence, because the way it was presented to me was that there's no cause, there's no cure. It really was a scary feeling. And I think people need to really take a focus on their own health, look into things, go to the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation website. There are people like me that are trial ambassadors, clinical trial ambassadors, that you can talk to patient. I would like to see there be a cure eventually for colitis, or a go-to that will help everybody. So I've done everything in my power to do that.